Hi friend, we're talking about tapping, how to do it, what it is. So we're just gonna give you a brief demo today and then how it can be applied in your life. So it's a silly looking technique at first. I thought it was really silly when my therapist first suggested it to me 7 or 8 years ago, which I think is what helped me kind of hold it at arm's length for a long time. But it is so incredibly effective, and when you eventually find yourself in enough pain, usually you'll go ahead and try the silly thing, and turns out it fucking worked for me. So it's called tapping. It's also called emotional freedom technique, or EFT for short. I tend to use both interchangeably depending on who I'm talking to, but I'll probably refer to it as tapping for the remainder of this video. So tapping combines acupressure with a modern psychological approach. So you're verbalizing an issue. The tapping is the somatic part that, in simple terms, sends signals to the brain to remain calm while speaking about something that is bothering you. So we call it tapping because we are literally tapping on the body in meridian points while saying certain statements. So it's been proven to help with everything from physical pain, financial issues, weight loss issues, PTSD. In my opinion, the most important that sort of works on all of those things are limiting beliefs. It is really great to use to work on limiting beliefs. For the sake of this video, we're gonna just talk about a very general, like, stress relief. How to, if I'm feeling tension in my body and I wanna feel less stressed, how would I set up a tapping for that? I feel like it's a fairly universal topic. At some point, all of us feel stress, in our lives. So first, step one, identify the problem. For us today, this is about, tension in the body. Then give it a number. Step 2 is give it a number on the SUDS scale, which is a subjective unit of stress. On a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being I feel very little stress about this topic, 10 being I feel very intensely about this topic. So for today, let's say I'm at a 7 as far as feeling tense inside of my body. Then I'm going to set up some reversal statements. I've talked about this a little bit before, but it is helpful to not just jump straight to the positive when talking about an issue, because we've got some built-in BS detectors inside of ourselves. So we want to directly talk about the problem so that we can face it and then move through it. Tapping on this specific point on the side of the hand is great for reversals. So we would make some statements to talk about the issue like this. Even though I'm feeling a lot of tension in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. We would make 2 or 3 of these statements, just speaking to the issue while we're tapping on the side of the hand. So even though I'm feeling really tense and stressed out, I deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. Even though I'm feeling resistance to the tension, I deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. So we talk about the problem here on the side of the hand, and then we move through the other points, and I'll identify them before we get into the rest of the tapping. So I just move with gravity. So we start at the top of the head and we tap hard enough that you were like trying to get someone's attention. Not so hard, but not so soft either. You can use all of your fingertips gathered together. You can use 2 fingers and move through all of the points. You'll want to find what works for you, what feels natural to you. It doesn't really make a difference. You can use 1 hand or 2 hands. So some people like to tap this way. I bounce back and forth between both. When you get to some of these points, they're so small that having 2 hands up here feels a bit weird. And then when we get to the armpits, you can give yourself a hug, and that's great. But you might just want to use 1 hand. So over time, I've sort of just stopped using 2 hands, and I find myself using my dominant hand. I'm left-handed, and that works for me. You'll figure out what works for you. So we load some information with the reversals into the circuitry of our body, and then we start just continuing to work on the problem. So all this tension, I just keep talking about the problem, all this tension inside my body. My neck is really stiff, blah, blah, blah. You know, we talk about the problem as we move through the points. And about maybe a round or two through the issue, we start to feel a little bit of relief. A sense of calm starts to come into the body. And to me, it is at that point that I start to meander towards the positive. And we want to do this in a way that, again, makes the body and the brain feel incredibly safe. So I start even with little statements of like, little by little, I'm starting to let this tension go. Little by, a little bit every day, I find myself getting better. And then I start to create a little bit more safety here, and then I can move on into the positive of actually, I feel calm. I feel great. I feel, however you want to feel. We start to tap those positives in also, which are just as important to your psyche and to your body. So it works like that. Okay, so these are the points. The top of the head, the eyebrow, the start of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, the chin, this kind of sore spot at your collarbone, under your collarbone, the armpit, which is sort of like the bra strap line, and then your wrists together. And then you move right back up to the top of the head, eyebrow, and you go through several rounds making a statement with each point. If you're following a video, then you would just mimic what they say, repeat what they say, and mimic their actions. If you're doing this on your own, which I feel like once you've done some videos for a little bit, you gain some confidence, and then you can just freestyle it, baby. And to me, that is where I've had the most profound shifts, is when I'm by myself and I'm just exploring an issue out loud to myself. And I find that once I start the somatic practice of the tapping itself, I'm available to myself to go deeper within the issue. And I'm always surprised at what comes up. A lot of it isn't even thoughts I realize that I've been thinking, but they end up coming through, and I'm really able to process what is happening with me in a whole new way that I've never really found a technique that works this well for things like that. And so it's also helpful for me to record these. And so I suggest that to you also, like bust out your voice message app and record yourself and then listen back to what you had to say to yourself. The other amazing part about this technique, it's free. You can do it on your own when you're triggered, when life is coming at you and you find yourself in a moment of chaos and you're unable to hold your own peace inside of yourself. Go out to your car, do a quick tapping. Run to the bathroom, do a quick tapping. I mean, it's so available to us to be able to empower ourselves and create lasting change inside of us. So cheers to you. I promise you that it will work for you too. I'm not special. This didn't just work for me. It's working for tons of people. And we're going to start hearing about it more and more in our everyday dominant culture. Take care.